What's going on YouTube? Username Kite562 here, and I have another Junji Ito story collection review for you all, and it is of Tobmbs, the newest and latest Junji Ito story collection. Now, Tobmbs itself has 9 short stories in it. However, to me, the 9 short stories were all a really decent length. They were not too long or too short, but the stories in question are as follows. And again, these reviews are of my own opinion, of my thoughts of reading this volume, so sit back and relax and listen to what I have to say about my experiences with these 9 short stories that Tobmbs has to offer. So the first story is, of course, Tobmbs. The next story to that is Clubhouse, Slug Girl, The Window Next Door, Washed Ashore, The Strange Tale of the Tunnel, Bronze Statue, Floaters, and The Bloody Tale of Shirosuna. Now, there's no, bonus concept art of these stories, but I'm really surprised that Slug Girl and The Window Next Door never made an appearance in the Shiver short story collection, so I'll leave a link to it up here in the corner, right in front of this door behind me. I'm just going to share with you my thoughts on each and every story, and I'll keep this review as spoiler-free as possible, but for the first story of Tobmbs, its plot is based around where a brother and sister named Kaoru, which is the sister, and Tsuyoshi is the brother, go to visit Kaoru's best friend Izumi in a small Japanese town, dealing with gravestones placed in odd places where they usually wouldn't be. Now, this town has a weird, I don't want to say tradition, but phenomenon going on where somebody dies, a gravestone would grow into that place. Let's say if an animal dies in a forest, a gravestone would grow in that place. And if somebody were to touch that area before it was finished, bad things would happen. And it was just a really interesting and solid story, and I have to say the most memorable visual for me from the story has to be on page 30 on the top right of the manga volume. So if you have Tobmbs right next to you, please feel free to turn to that page and definitely give it a second glance. So page 30, top right panel, where the search team is looking for Izumi's sister Ayumi. I think it was the panel where they're looking through a well, and you can see their heads and then the details of the well as they're looking down it, kind of like a view from The Ring or something. And it was just a really phenomenal story all around. I mean, all 9 stories within Tobmbs were really strong, so it was really hard to pick a certain number, because I feel like this volume, all 9 stories really shined in their own way, and it was just a really wonderful experience in my opinion. My final note on Tobmbs, it's a very strong start with this story collection. I mean, the stories aren't too long or too short, they're just a really nice length. Not Stephen King long, just really a really nice length of a story when it comes to these 9 short stories. So my final note on Tobmbs, it's a very strong start with this story. The detail on page 46, right panel, was really impressive and memorable to me. Tobmbs gave me kind of a I Know What You Did Last Summer kind of vibe with the starting intro to it. That just kind of popped into my mind when I was reading it. So I have to say Tobmbs, a really strong start with this story, but it also had its own unique twists and turns as well. So anyway, on to the next story, Clubhouse. 3 high school friends, Yukari, Chikako, and Mine, decide to explore an abandoned but rumored haunted house in their area that is home to a bloody tragedy that happened 20 years ago to some community college students. What could that tragedy have been? Who knows? Read the Tobmbs story collection to find out. But something seems off about this house. one part upstairs seems to be blocked off to this day, even after that bloody tragedy that happened 20 years ago. And so finally, the next story, Slug Girl. A young talkative girl named Yuko suddenly stopped talking, but her house seems overran by slugs as one of her friends who comes by to check on her sees her, Yuko's parents, stomping on slugs that just suddenly appeared in the garden. Now, this is one story featured in the Junji Ito collection next to The Window Next Door, and I really thought these two stories were going to be featured in Shiver instead of Tobmbs, but I'm really happy that we got Slug Girl and The Window Next Door in this collection. I have to say those two stories were really enjoyable to me, and just the panels, all of them from each of these 9 stories are really enjoyable to study, in my opinion. So all in all, this collection is just really strong out the gate. But again, if you want to check out the story Slug Girl, check out Tobmbs. And again, with the next story, Window Next Door, Hiroshi Sakaguchi and his parents move into a new house and neighborhood. While in the house next door, late at night, Hiroshi would hear the faint whispers of his elderly neighbor woman trying to get into his house. Now, I feel like the overall theme of these stories is claustrophobia, or like the fear of something unknown invading someone's space, like with this mysterious neighbor in The Window Next Door. Hiroshi's room is going to be supposedly invaded by this mysterious neighbor. It's just the details on these panels is just really solid for each and every story. But the eerie voice from the woman, I still keep on thinking of the Japanese voice actor for Orochimaru, because I did see the Junji Ito collection anime adaptation of this episode like years ago, but that still kind of gave me a chuckle. But all in all, the real tension in this story still stands to this day. So, but as for a side note, Slug Girl and Window Next Door are classic Ito stories in my opinion, and again they were featured in the Junji Ito short story collection, and I'm surprised they didn't make an appearance in the Shiver short story collection, but I'm just really happy that we finally got these stories officially within Tobmbs. And just look at the cover here, the spine, the nice lime green color. So, as for the next story, Washed Ashore, a young man and a woman see what seems to be a prehistoric creature wash up on the shore. Something akin to a prehistoric equivalent of a whale, from what I remember in the panels. The man has always had a fear of the ocean ever since he's seen something at the aquarium that terrified him when he was younger, while the woman lost her fiancé Tadashi at sea 7 years ago. Now, with the story Washed Ashore, it was like really short and to the point, but it really didn't overstay its welcome. I mean, none of the stories in this collection overstayed their welcome, but all of them are really enjoyable in their own unique way, and they had their own unique like plots and synapses, but the overall theme of claustrophobia seemed to stand strong with each and every one of them as I continued reading. And then, for the next story, The Strange Tale of the Tunnel, Goro revisits his old hometown after being away for 20 years. When Goro was just a boy, his mother committed suicide by standing in front of an active train tunnel. 20 years into the future, that train tunnel now lays abandoned, or now it's a mysterious research facility, and Goro seems to be slowly drawing his way back to it after mysterious disappearances have been happening in this small town of his ever since he left. What could it be? Who knows? And I thought the mystery of the tunnel really reminded me of a Doctor Who episode, and then the clubhouse story, the way that the clubhouse, the haunted house, was designed really reminded me of the Doctor Who episode Blink. I feel like those two Junji Ito short stories would make really interesting Doctor Who plots, in my opinion. So, all in all these stories were solid. And then the next story is Bronze Statue. A group of women are invited to an event where a new statue of the mayor's wife, when she was younger, a group of women invited to an event where a new statue of the mayor's wife was made when she was younger, but it seems too realistic to these four ladies. Now, with the story of the bronze statue, I feel like this older woman who's the mayor's wife, her husband died 3 years ago. So I just thought it was really interesting, and it really gave me a real Vincent Price kind of feel to it, with some of the energy that it gave off with its plot and some of its moments. And I have to say, like, near the end of the story, where everything was revealed, really, captured my attention as a reader. Again, as I said for the upteenth time, all these stories are really solid, and they stood out in their own strong way. And as for floaters, Ryoichi, Kyoko, and Masao, 3 high school friends who discovered these large black floating hairballs, nothing related to the Langoliers, seemed to be floating around their town, but when they were first discovered, Ryoichi discovers one like stuck in a tree, and it ends up having Masao's voice as he keeps on touching it because he thinks the hairs as they rub together would make the hairballs talk. And I think that story was like a commentary of like social media, or like accidentally texting somebody the wrong thing, like you're just angrily texting somebody in a bit of rage and you just accidentally hit send and you're just like, oh shit, kind of situation. But I feel like with the story Floaters, people just seem to float out any thoughts that they have till this day, good or bad. It'll still float out there on the internet, into the void, wherever it may go. I feel like that was the main theme of the story Floaters, but I'll leave it to that. And so the next story, The Bloody Tale of Shirosuna. Dr. Furuhata believes the path of rural medicine is the right one, and that's on page 299 of Tobmbs. Since Dr. Furuhata, I cannot talk today, is the new doctor in Shirosuna village in 10 years. Now, again, Dr. Furuhara is the only one in the town that has an O negative blood type, while everyone in the village has an AB blood type, which, surprisingly enough, all of the villagers have an AB blood type, while Dr. Furuhata has type O. So, all in all, really solid story with really great visuals, especially the landscape visuals near the end of the story. Again, like I said, read Tobmbs if you want to know the juicier details. This is just my spoiler-free review of the story. Is just all 9 of these featured stories are really solid in my opinion. So at the end of the day, my final thoughts, Tobmbs is a really strong story collection. Strong and well-detailed visuals in all of the 9 feature stories in this story collection. I give Tobmbs a 9.7 out of 10. Leave a like, comment. What was your favorite part about Tobmbs? Let me know down in the comments below. And like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy the content on this channel. I'm Kite562, signing out. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, everybody. Later.